There are legends round here, even if only in their own minds. Forgotten, but not dead. Some have tried to stop them, but they keep coming back, coming to entertain you. They are the Crystal Lake Soldiers.
We want to thank you again for checking out our podcast. We are on our second episode. This is Isaiah, joined again by Mark, Ted, and Sean. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing good. What's going on?
Pretty good, man. What's going on?
Fantastic.
Awesome. Well, we got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So to start off, we're going to talk a little bit of wrestling news. For those of you that haven't heard, this past week, Hall of Famer Harley Race had passed away. That's a major loss, especially for the wrestling world.
Yes, the greatest wrestler on God's green earth. I guess now in heaven, huh?
Yeah.
8-time NWA champion.
I mean, he's the one that put Ric Flair on the map, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say the same thing, man. Him and, Dusty Rhodes was already big, but him and Dusty Rhodes had some great matches. He lifted Ric Flair up and just all around. I think kind of overlooked when the discussion is talked about some of the greats, but I would say he's one of them, has to be listed in the top 5 or 10 of the best wrestlers.
He has to, and the guy was a legit badass too.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, you hear the stories,
Real ass kicker.
Right, exactly. I mean, there's so many stories out there about him, and it's great because he just was like a no nonsense guy, and who could really kick your ass if you got into a real fight with him. I mean, the dude was
That's
great.
what I figured. When Terry Funk said it's the toughest son of a bitch in wrestling, I took it seriously. So.
Yeah.
Terry Funk's not kind of a crazy man himself.
Right, exactly. So that's such a huge loss. I mean, obviously, it's like 2019 sucks already for losses because I mean, like last week when we talked about Rigger Howard who also passed away recently. Now this week it's fucking Harley Race. I tell you what though, the first time I remember seeing Harley Race or seeing him in a match was that match that he had with Haku in WWF.
Yeah, that wasn't my first. That's definitely one of the ones that's vivid in my memory. One of the first matches. Mm-hmm. I just remember them beating the hell out of each other, basically.
Yeah, because Haku's
tough, legit badass.
Right, Haku's no slouch either. That's for sure. But beyond that, I remember Harley Race from his WCW days when he was managing Vader, and let me tell you, Vader scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. When he came out with that huge ass mask that shot out the steam and everything, that fucking thing scared the shit out of me as a kid.
One of my all-time favorites, Vader, because he scared me.
Right?
I loved it when he barked.
It's Vader time!
It's Vader time!
God.
Like, that guy's crazy. I love it.
Yeah.
And Harley Race at his side just made him that much more dangerous.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
remember trying to handcuff Ric Flair to the cage. Ric Flair's big I might retire match of many.
Yeah, how many did he actually have? He had so many of those.
That's the first one I remember distinctly. They had the family in, David Flair in before everybody knew who he was.
Yep.
God, Charlotte was probably there as a little girl.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing, some of the, because I was watching some of the videos a while back, and I could have sworn Charlotte was in there.
Yeah, it just makes us old, I guess.
Yeah, that's for sure. So that's kind of a bummer, for this week, news-wise, because I mean, It's obviously a huge loss for especially the wrestling industry. All right, so kind of moving along. Obviously, we still have quite a few movies that are coming out this year. Obviously, the most hyped up one right now is It Chapter 2. The first It Chapter 1 was obviously a huge hit with it being the highest grossing horror movie of all time. Thoughts?
I'm excited.
I loved it.
Looking
I'm
forward.
excited.
I've been watching the trailers recently. Has any of you seen the trailer where the naked old lady runs at Beverly? I freaking lost it.
That's the
Yes.
first. That's the first trailer I actually
Yes,
saw.
that was the first trailer they released, I believe.
It looks really good. I wasn't impressed with the first one,
Mhm.
but looking back on it, it kind of grew on me a little bit. The second one looks really good, which
Yeah.
is going to be the opposite for me. For the old ones, I like the first one better. This one I think I'm going to like better.
See, I enjoyed the first one a lot because I'm not a fan of the original.
Yeah,
I'm not either.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's got a good following. A lot of people enjoyed it. It just always came across really flat and boring for me. So I never could get
Right,
into it.
and I'm kind of right there with you with that. The only thing that kind of won me over with the original one was Tim Curry as Pennywise, because obviously that's just iconic.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I
Beep,
agree
beep,
with
Richie.
you. Beep, Richie. But yeah, no, I agree. The original mini series was kind of flat and boring, like you said. There's not really really much else that you can do. And I'm
it
sure,
was a made-for-TV movie. It
Right.
wasn't. It was pretty restricted.
yeah,
That was its
Yeah.
problem, in my opinion.
I always like that excuse.
I will
Knight
say
and
the
Scarecrow is
first-
a good movie, even though
the
it's
it
not. That
it
was a
2018 had that one scene where, well, spoilers,
right.
where Beverly was in the bathroom and the hair came out and grabbed her head.
Yep,
That was freaking awesome. That was my favorite scene of that whole movie.
I agree. That was great.
that was cool.
But so it'll be interesting to see, is this one going to do better or is it going to do about the same or less? I mean, you never really know with sequels, but I mean, the hype is there and it looks terrific, especially if you've seen those trailers in the theater, especially like somewhere like the Alamo Drafthouse. It just made it feel so much better, and it just got me so hyped for it. It was
I
great.
think it's gonna do better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
My personal opinion. I mean, the first one 2 years ago made so much money that everybody's been waiting for the sequel to end the story. So I think more people are gonna see it, or they're gonna see it multiple times.
I love the cast. I'm just excited for the whole thing.
That's another thing.
The guy,
cast they
what's his
have is
name?
great.
Bill Skarsgård. Is that his name?
yep, that's
Yeah,
his name.
The, he killed it in the first one as Pennywise.
Yeah, definitely. He did a great
I agree.
job.
It'll be interesting
That's
seeing
scary.
it'll be interesting, just being able to revisit this part of the story with the older versions of themselves and just seeing how they tie it together in this one.
Yeah, I like to see that transition, anyways, because it's the same characters, but it's so different because now
Right.
you're dealing with them as grown-ups instead of the
Mhm.
kids fighting the evil force.
Exactly. Yeah.
You've got a great cast: James McAvoy, Jessica Chastain.
Yep. Definitely.
So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, September's coming right around the corner, which means Halloween season is coming up. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be good.
I thought of the 13th, 40th anniversary, I think, of part one.
Yeah, that's coming up.
Yep.
Definitely.
3 from Hell's coming out in September also
Yeah.
for a limited
Yeah.
theatrical showing.
I'm looking forward to that too. Definitely.
Yep. I got my tickets. So I'm good to go.
Yeah. So then, also, after that, coming in October, Zombieland 2 Double Tap. I am pumped for this movie. I absolutely loved the first Zombieland movie.
Okay, so I think it looks pretty good, but it's going to be a completely different type of movie because the first movie only had just the main 4 people for most of the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
And this one's introducing several new characters. It looks good, but it's gonna feel a lot different, I think.
Well, that
I'd
would
never-
be good. 'Cause I'm not a big fan of the first one.
I never thought I would see Woody Harrelson sitting in the Oval Office. So let's just say this movie made that happen.
I mean, there's things I like in the first. I don't hate the first one, but I would like to see maybe
I loved the first one.
change it
I
all
thought it
around.
was funny as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to be in the minority in groups anytime I say that.
I love the Bill Murray.
You're just
I love
a
the Bill
hater,
Murray bit in
Sean.
the first one.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. The zombie genre is funny for me.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
not
a
big
zombie
on too
purist.
many of the comedies. Shaun of the Dead is probably the only one that I really care for when it comes to the zombie
Sure.
comedy.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
And I felt like that, even though it was a comedy, it was also a huge tribute to
Right.
zombies. So that's why it won me over.
Yeah. Back to kind of the Bill Murray thing, though. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if they have any cameos in this one like they did in the last one, because obviously that Bill Murray cameo was a huge,
I did like that part of it.
huge part of that first movie. Yeah,
Well,
That
Bill
was
Murray
so
won't be in
funny.
it. He's dead.
right. Unless he's not.
Maybe we'll get a Dan Aykroyd or something.
Bill
That'd
Murray
be
never
funny.
dies, Mark. Bill Murray never dies.
Oh God. But so yeah, that's one I'm definitely looking forward to, because I've wanted a sequel for so long, and obviously
Yeah.
with it being 10 years on, it's a good time for it to happen. So seems like there's a couple other like indie movies that are going to be coming out here shortly too. There's one called The Gravedigger, which is kind of a spin on obviously the classic Frankenstein story. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I'm interested, definitely, man. Frankenstein's one of my favorite old stories from Universal.
The trailer I saw was only like 20 seconds long,
Mm.
Yeah, it's very short, but
but
it looks
it
like
looked
might be
it looked
like a
interesting.
dark, gritty kind of movie, which I think
Yeah.
Frankenstein kind of needs to be.
Right.
I just hope they play off that human element. Sometimes they forget from the original, showing his human side. I think that's a big part of the story.
Yeah.
You can't just go for the scare monster effects. You gotta
Yeah.
feel for Frankie.
Exactly. No, I definitely agree. For me, the trailer, I mean, you can definitely tell it's more of an independent movie. It kind of had
Yeah.
that kind of feel. It almost felt, I don't want to say cheap, but it kind of seemed like that too. I'm hoping, it's good and whatnot. It just kind of came
I
off
love
as
me a
seeming a
good
little.
budget movie.
Right.
I love them.
They're hit and
I
miss
really-
for me with those kind of budget movies too. But
I really don't know what to think of it because we've had so many iterations of the Frankenstein story.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's really
Like,
making me go.
We don't have a
"Oh."
lot to go off of, just that little
Yeah.
bit. So
I mean, it might be good. I just don't know what to
Interest
think
for
about
sure.
it.
yeah. So it seems interesting, but it could very easily end up being just kind of another just statistic when it comes to these, trying to take a story and try to put a new spin on it, but it ends up not being really a new spin. It just ends up being trash. So it's a fine line, and I'm hoping that they tread it the right way and they end up hitting it out of the park. I really hope they do.
Yeah, definitely. I always support the independents.
Yeah.
It's tough making a movie with
Oh, yeah.
no money.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to make it, man. If you want to make a movie and you don't have a big budget, work with what you got.
Yeah.
You know?
Gotta keep it within your means. Think simply.
Yeah.
Sometimes some of the stuff we all love and cherish and worship have that mentality.
Mm-hmm.
We forget that sometimes.
Right. Definitely. On the other hand, though, there is the other movie that released a trailer recently that actually seems pretty good. It's another independent. It's called Jack in the Box. I absolutely love how the creature looks in this movie.
The trailer looks so awesome.
Yeah, it looks cool, man. I like the premise
Yeah.
of the old French-made box, and
Yep.
what's
Yeah.
trapped inside. Gives it an actual story. So Looks good.
That fucking
Reminds me
doll
almost
looks
kind of
creepy.
the Puppet Master days.
Yes.
It had that
That's-
feel that the trailer did.
Yes, that's the vibe I got from that doll when they pulled it out of the box. Oh my god, that
Yeah.
doll is so fucking creepy. But that one looks really good. I'm looking forward to that. I can't wait to check that one out for sure.
And this just dropped today. I don't know if anybody else got to see it. Are You Afraid of Dark had a little teaser trailer. It looked pretty interesting,
No,
man.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, like it just dropped today. I didn't get a chance to mention y'all before this, but I wanted to throw it in there because it looks like Nickelodeon's not shying away from trying to get scary, just like the originals. I felt were, they didn't hold back. They were family friendly, but not to the point where it was just like a family movie. It was just something everyone knew they could come and
Exactly. That was a huge part of my childhood was the original series. I mean,
yeah, me too.
I mean, I remember going, spending, whatever night it was on. That was like the last thing I watched before I went to bed. I
I think it was
absolutely
Friday
loved it.
nights.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah, I watched it. I loved Are You Afraid of the Dark? So.
Yeah, it was good stuff, man. I enjoyed that. Like when Goosebumps came around, I was a little older,
Yeah,
so I didn't get quite as into that. But Are You Afraid of the Dark, I was all in on that.
definitely. So I remember the ones that always stuck out to me were like the one with the headless horseman, obviously. That's a classic. And then the other one where there's like a dollhouse. I don't remember if you guys remember that one, where it was like I forget the whole story. But there's like a freaking dollhouse, and it's like there's like a portal that goes, and I don't remember if it like traps you in the dollhouse or whatever, but I remember that one
vaguely
too.
remember something to
Yeah.
that effect.
Wasn't there an episode where the gnomes came alive? Or was that
It was
Goosebumps?
like Goosebumps.
I think that's Goosebumps.
That was
But
Goosebumps?
They could have. I vaguely
Goosebumps
remember. what
did
you're
more
talking about.
goofy things like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I want to say that was Goosebumps, but it could have been either or, honestly.
Hey, Goosebumps was great growing up too.
Yeah, Goosebumps did have its time. I mean, obviously the books were super
Slappy the
popular.
Dummy scared the piss out of me.
I was about to say Slappy. Of
Uh,
course, I'm a huge fan of killer dolls and stuff like that,
Yep.
like Puppet Master stuff.
exactly.
So dummies coming to life is right up my alley.
Yeah, that was great.
Child's play.
That should be
I
a
wonder
new
why
movie
you're so
title.
into dummies too.
Dummies coming to life.
Oh man, that's good. Speaking of these movies that are coming out, obviously we also have some Blu-rays that are coming out too. First up, we got Tammy and the T-Rex, which is getting a release from Vinegar Syndrome.
Yes.
Super excited.
Yes.
And weren't
Paul
they talking
Walker,
about?
Denise
It's one of
Richards.
the B movies at its greatest.
Yeah, weren't they saying it's going to be the R-rated version too?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which I
All
have
gore
not
and
seen.
text.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm definitely into that. Vinegar Syndrome's putting it together. They usually do a pretty good job.
They
with
do
their
a great job.
movies.
They did
Yeah.
a great job with their Nightmare Sisters, and they're also releasing Hell Comes to Frogtown next, or at the end of this month.
I did not know that. And
Yeah,
now I got more money to spend.
it's a new
Oh,
2K
my
skin.
mom.
If only he was alive to give a new interview.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Great.
Everybody loves They Live, man. But they haven't seen Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Yeah, that's coming out.
Then, kind of a big one for me, just because I grew up with the series and whatnot. But Twin Peaks is getting a complete series release on Blu-ray for the first two, obviously the older first two seasons, and then the rebooted season that was showed on Showtime. So it's getting a complete collection release, which I'm kind of excited for. I love David Lynch's stuff. I'm really hyped for that because I love
Yeah, that's
love
awesome.
Twin
It
Peaks.
deserves
Yeah,
the treatment for sure, man.
it
I'll
does.
probably buy it.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that one-
I never saw the reboot series. I've seen the
Me
original.
neither. I've only gotten about halfway through the second season. I haven't finished it.
okay.
but yeah, I'll probably buy it.
Holds up,
It's
though.
iconic.
Yeah.
David Lynch is good. He's his own unique mind.
Yes,
so
it
It's
is.
very strange, yes.
Yeah, it's not for everybody, but if you like it, you'll love it.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, it hooked me in. I love it.
So
Don't
I'm
forget that
super-
the movie Fire Walk with Me, Criterion put that out on Blu-ray not too long ago,
Yep.
Yeah, that's
which is basically the prequel to the whole show.
Right.
It shows what happens to Laura Palmer. That poor Laura Palmer.
that's actually like the first thing I ever saw of it, and then went to the series afterwards.
Well, chronologically, that's correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't intentional, but it worked out.
Yeah.
Definitely.
The Blu-ray has like all the deleted scenes, I believe, and stuff that was just cut out from the final cut.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be packed full of features.
Wow. It'll be good. It'll be good. It's definitely gonna be good.
Mhm.
So here's some news that kind of came out this last week, which kind of piqued my interest quite a bit too. Kind of moving off from Blu-rays back into movies a little bit. James Wan has a secret horror movie project with New Line Cinema. Now, different outlets have said different things. A lot have said that it's an all new original project. Others haven't specified that either.
Yeah,
So it's kind of like, if they're being so secretive about it, is it something that people have wanted for a long time? Or is it truly something that's brand new? I mean, I'm hoping it's just not something that's just another movie, a part of the Conjuring, system of movies.
that I hope not too. I love the Conjuring universe has been fun and all that, but it's they've got a lot of movies now. So
Exactly.
It's
gonna be-
original. It's got to be its own thing then, or
It's
go to where we were. I think all hoping.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to go.
I fucking hope to God, if it isn't something original, I hope it is a proper justice done to fucking Nightmare on Elm Street. If
it's gonna be
anything.
one. It's gonna be one of three things. It's either gonna be another Conjuring movie, a Nightmare on Elm Street remake, reboot, whatever that they've been talking about for a few years now again, or it will be something original. It's gonna be one of those three things.
Right.
Hey, Robert
I'm
Englund
hoping-
said he's down to do one more.
Yeah.
that-
after
that
he did
too.
What's
The
name of it?
Goldbergs.
The Goldbergs.
He
Yep.
said he thinks he's got one more left in him. So
And
that
Heather
excited me. I
Heather
don't
said
think
she wants to come back
do a
too.
Nightmare, but yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That doesn't
Yeah.
surprise me.
Hell
That's awesome.
yes, hell yes.
And I don't think you can. A lot of people have disagreed with me. I don't think you can do a Nightmare without Robert.
No.
It's
No.
just
I agree.
unfortunate,
I agree.
but
Absolutely not.
there is no other Freddy.
No, there isn't.
He is Freddy.
So, the little kid in me especially is really hoping it goes that way. I mean, obviously, I'm not holding my breath, but if I got my way, I would definitely have James Wan redo A Nightmare on Elm Street and just completely forget the trash that came out in 2010. Have him do a proper, good, awesome reboot, or even a sequel, to the first one. How they've been doing lately with a lot of movies. Even if they went
There's
that
so
route.
many ways you could go with it. I mean, as long as
Yeah.
it's a good story.
Well,
Exactly.
Isaiah, we don't talk about the 2010 movie. That doesn't exist.
No, it doesn't exist. That's the
Doesn't
point.
exist.
Crappy Ghost too.
I will say this though.
What happened in 2010? I don't know what happened in 2010. It's
Then
just
it-
another year, man.
In all seriousness, though, with the 2010 movie, I like Jackie Earl Haley as Freddy. It's just that the story was shit. Everything was shit about it. I just wish that he would have had the opportunity to do it good, because everything else was just kind of against him with it. I thought his portrayal was decent, but that's really the only redeeming thing about
he
that
was
movie.
just going with what they gave him. I just felt like Freddy came across more of a ghost than he did an actual demon in your
Right.
dreams.
And that all
That's
comes
right.
down
Yeah.
to how it was directed and how they did everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's He's the only redeeming factor, if there is any redeeming quality of that movie. And I really do wish that he would have had the proper chance to do it right. You know, if they gave him something good to work with.
He did have the best line in that movie too.
Yeah.
When he was talking, was it Thomas Dekker? I think was in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, the brain still functions 6 minutes after death, so we still have 5 more minutes to play, or something like that.
That line was
I love
pretty
that
good.
line.
Oh, he was sick and twisted in there. That was kind of good. So yeah, but James Wan, I mean, whether it's new, whether it ends up being Nightmare on Elm Street, it's exciting as long as it's not another Conjuring movie, because they've got plenty of those coming out, like we've said. So.
Mm-hmm.
It's losing its luster.
Now, another hopeful thing that's been coming out is Tom McLaughlin talking about how he's written another Friday the 13th sequel called Jason Never Dies.
Yes.
I think it's awesome.
Yes.
I hope it gets these guys off their ass and settle
It
things.
sounds great. The setting in the winter with the snow at Camp Crystal Lake just sounds amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, I've all been wanting that for a while, I think.
I love the idea of the all-female cast.
Yep.
That's something that hasn't been done before. I like the idea that these aren't people that know anything. They're not locals. They're just passersby.
Yeah, I liked that. Like, they're completely innocent to the whole situation. So they don't know if it's a murder, an alien, a monster, what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
I like that too, man.
He said he wants to keep the sense of humor from Jason Lives,
Which
but
I
make
love.
it darker.
Yes.
And I love that. That is freaking perfect.
And it got me so excited because you know, Jason Lives was the first Friday the 13th movie I ever experienced. So that was my
Same
first
here.
taste of the whole franchise was part 6. And then, you know, kind of grew from there. So, I mean, part 6 is definitely my favorite out of all of them just because of that
Mine,
fact.
yep.
I did love the humor in it. I loved everything that came with part 6 I loved. And, you know, to be able to
Part
possibly
6
experience that
represents
again.
when it came out so well, man. It's just...
Yeah.
It was
Well,
86,
part 6
something
does
like that. It's
part
just-
6 does something that a lot of horror films don't do today. Is they get the humor right. The characters are
Yes.
humorous,
Yep.
but they're not overly silly.
It's not a
And
comedy.
they
Like-
don't make fun
Like
of Jason.
Hatchet. Like
Yep.
Adam Green and Hatchet. He nails
Yeah.
it perfect. Perfect balance.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.
You can have humor in your horror without a comedy movie with horror. If that-
Yes.
Stop making it slapstick and
There's
goofy.
nothing wrong with comedy horror.
No.
No, not at all. It's
No, they both
but-
go hand in hand.
always
The- Yeah, exactly.
So that's
Part 6 was also my favorite. I was
Mhm.
curious, what was your guys' favorite death from Part 6?
I know mine right off the bat. It's
Smiley
when,
face.
He cracks the sheriff
Smiley
backwards.
face. Oh, that's
like
a
when he
good one.
cracks the
I
sheriff
love how they
backwards.
did that with the guy in the hole and his legs
Yep.
sticking out.
The
That
whole
was
It's
amazing.
innovative. It's simple, but it's so
Yes.
effective.
The kind of effects that people don't think of anymore today.
exactly.
I'll say my
Um,
favorite is the what Sean said when the sheriff gets his back cracked.
Mm-hmm.
I like the
But I will say
triple
my favorite shot.
decapitation.
That's a good one. My favorite shot is when he's standing on top of the crashed RV. I thought that looked awesome.
Yes.
Yes, the best shot. in the whole movie,
Amazing.
definitely.
That's my
I saw
favorite
the
shot.
I saw the
It makes you wanna stand up
storyboard.
and cheer for Jason. You don't even care about the councils at that
Exactly.
point. You're like, get him.
I saw the storyboard photos for the RV scene where he slams what's her name, Nikki, her face through the
Yep.
RV wall. In the
Mhm.
original writing of the storyboard, he was supposed to mold her face through the wall like they did, and then he's supposed to slam the machete through the back of her head, and it comes out the other end.
Oh, that would have been
Oh.
so cool.
That would have been nice.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
already a
God.
pretty cool death.
Yeah.
That would've been,
I mean,
more
plus-
awesome.
With that movie, you can't beat the soundtrack either. I mean, Alice Cooper.
Oh,
I mean-
Alice Cooper.
No, you cannot.
That's a big part of
Iconic.
what helps. Yeah.
So if they can get if this shit with obviously the whole lawsuit gets settled, and we can get this fucking movie made, this is gonna be fucking epic. I mean, especially if you can get the right balance
Are-
of everything again, the right soundtrack again. I mean, it could be just fucking incredible.
Are you listening, Sean Cunningham, Victor Miller?
Get your shit
Jason
together.
never dies.
Come on.
I also
big boy
like how
pants
he's
on.
not trying to pursue the Tom Matthews, Tommy Jarvis thing because it's already kind of being done with the fan films going on.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's the reason he decided to move away from that. But that
Being all
it was a
females,
blessing because now we're getting a totally fresh look, even similar but fresh. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Definitely. So
So
that's
do you think if this lawsuit is resolved, if this movie will see light?
I hope so. I
You never
really
know.
pray it does
It's
because
possible.
I think it's a
The
pretty
interest it's generating, they have to be
iffy.
hip to the money
Yeah.
it can make.
yeah.
Plus,
especially when you
everybody
got-
loves Part 6.
exactly.
Most people do, I should say. I can't say
Right.
everybody, but most
Yes,
people
most
love Part
Friday
6.
fans like
Tom
Part 6.
McLaughlin.
And obviously Tom loves the franchise. He loves the characters. So I mean,
Yes.
he's the perfect one to do it, and he wants to do it. That's the thing, is that he's fucking taking the initiative now to write this thing, even with this whole fucking lawsuit going on, because he loves the story so much, and he's talked
It's
about how
over
he's
there
been.
waving.
Yeah, he's talked about how he's basically been writing this fucking thing for 33 years, and just kind
Yeah.
of just been building upon it and changing it as he's gone along. That shows somebody with passion for this fucking thing, unlike Victor Miller and Sean Cunningham, who just want to fucking fight over money because they're children right now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
It's all about
So-
pride.
yeah,
So if this movie does get greenlit, who does he sign as Jason? Does he go back to CJ?
I would love to see CGI back. I mean, as much
Absolutely, my vote 100%.
Yes.
Oh,
as much as I love Derek Mears in the remake, and obviously I know how you guys feel about the remake for the most part. I love
love it.
Derek Mears as Jason. I would if Tom McLaughlin is able to make his movie, I would love to have CJ Graham back. Definitely.
As long as it's
Yeah.
good, I don't think I'd care who's back behind the
Yeah,
mask.
I was gonna say
I
you
mean,
can put
I'd take
CJ or
CJ.
Kane, Derek, put them
Or
all.
anybody. As long as it's
Yeah.
good, I'll accept it.
Right.
Because all of them do a good job as Jason.
Yeah.
They can
Mhm.
do it. We just need a good
Oh,
story.
that guy
around them.
in Never Hike Alone, Vincent DeSanti, he did good. He did great.
Yeah, he did a good job too.
He's done a good job with that, and then playing Michael
He
Myers
did
in that
the
other.
Shape, yeah.
Yeah, he's an interesting cat, and the stuff that he's made. I mean,
Oh yeah.
he does a very good job. That's for sure. But so that's so exciting, though. I mean, thinking that somebody that's that passionate about this is taking the time on his own, not even being paid for anything, to fucking create this story and get things
Yeah.
rolling, trying to generate interest and hopefully get people to get their heads out of their asses, basically, and get shit made, make some
Yeah,
money,
because-
actually.
It's the fans who are suffering at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
We want more.
And the title is perfect for after all this crap that we've all had
Yes.
to witness and
Yes.
go through. Jason never dies.
Never dies.
Can we finally have a 13th movie in the Friday the 13th franchise? For the love of God, please.
Right.
Because at this point, Halloween has it beat with the 2 back-to-back movies they're
Yep.
making.
Yeah.
If the plans still go through what they're trying to do.
Jason, Michael's creeping on your numbers. You need to get out there.
Puppet Master has 13 movies.
Yep. God. So good. But yeah, so that's great. Now we did have a new Critters movie that came out recently, Critters Attack. Why don't you guys go ahead and let us know a little bit about that? Because I know I haven't seen that yet.
Pretty fun movie. I think a little bit on a lower budget than the original, but Dee Wallace Stone is back, not reprising her original role, but coming in as a bounty hunter, actually.
which kind of confused me when I watched the movie.
Yeah,
That
it
was one
confused me
thing.
at
I was like,
first, too.
she's not an alien like the other bounty hunters from the other movies because she has a
That
nephew or something.
confused me even more, is the fact that she wasn't an alien. And when
Yeah.
they first introduce her, the music they play, it's like, here she is. So it's like,
Yeah.
but I think it
Mhm.
was a more of, here's Dee Wallace Stone, not here's, I don't remember their name in part one, but here's
I will
Mrs.
s-
So-and-so.
I will say I love the practical effects. It looked like a Critters movie.
It did look like a Critters movie.
Awesome.
I did,
Yes.
like you did, I had to look up to see if the Chiodo brothers had anything to do with
Yes.
the movie.
At first, I
Did a
thought they
good
did
job.
at first. I was like, this looks like Kyoto Brothers' handiwork. And then no, it wasn't them. They
wow.
in the bonus features of the disc, they did say that they used some of the original critters from the other movies. So I was like, oh, okay. So their imprint is still on there essentially. I
Yeah.
did like that they had a gizmo-like critter who's on the human side. It was different. Bianca,
Okay.
who's all white.
Yeah,
White
and
critter.
you're never sure. You know, it seems as if it's a good one, but you're not quite sure through the movie what's going on
Right.
with her. You're aware that it seems as though most of if the critters are following them because of her. But I recommend it if you're a Critters fan. Check it out.
Yeah,
Definitely
definitely.
fun movie.
And all the human
Yeah,
characters
I
were
can't wait to
likable
see
too.
it. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, all the human characters were likable. It was well made.
And it could definitely have a follow up. They kind of just
Ended
wrapped
it. It
up.
kind of ended
Yeah,
abruptly.
just
Yeah.
ended.
Huh.
Didn't give you a real wrap up, so it's open for anything.
And no explanation for Dee Wallace on how she's a bounty hunter and how she knows about the Krites. Because she's
Right.
not playing the same character from the first movie.
I
Yeah.
will say it almost felt like a tribute to Critters in a way. It's like, here's some more Critters fun. Let's just go at it.
Nice.
See
Yeah,
some Critters
yeah,
eat
it did
some
feel that
people
way.
and see someone fight them.
It was fun. I recommend it.
Awesome. How are can you kind of explain how people can see this movie right now? Is it out on DVD or is it only on streaming right now?
It's
it's-
streaming and on a Blu-ray or I'm sorry, you can buy it digitally, not streaming.
Okay.
And you can buy it on
Yeah.
DVD or Blu-ray.
Awesome.
And I believe they actually have a 5-pack out now, including it with the other movies.
Oh,
Okay.
cool.
I didn't know that either. That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'll have to check that out. So that's awesome. Now this past week was a milestone, kind of going back to Friday the 13th. 30 years of Jason Takes Manhattan. Came out 30 years ago this past week. That was my first one where I saw Kane Hodder as Jason. Because I saw that one before I saw Part 7 or even Jason Goes to Hell or anything like that. So that was kind of my first instance of seeing Kane Hodder as Jason. That Jason is my favorite look of Jason. I absolutely love the mask from Part 8. Overall, I love Jason Takes Manhattan too.
Yeah, I will say it's something that's growing on me. When it first came out, I was so excited about the New York thing, being from New York. And so when I got to see it, that let me down so much that it was only at the end of the movie.
That let a lot of people down.
It was in New York, Sean.
And it was also the first one where they kind of drifted away from the camp.
Yeah.
So it took a while for me to get over those two things, but I will say it's the last of the Paramounts, and I like it now. It holds up. It's kind of the last one where I feel like after that, the franchise really has struggled to find a place.
Right.
It's been
I
kinda
like
all
the
over
movie.
place since then.
I loved
It's got its problems.
Right.
But it's not the director's fault because if you listen to his interviews, he had all this stuff planned for like Madison Square Garden, I believe Central Park. I mean, he was going to go all over the place, and Paramount just kept cutting the budget. to where he had no choice but to set most of the movie on that boat.
Right.
And then they only got to film in New York for like the Times Square scene. Everything else is like
That's
in
what I read.
Vancouver.
And it's crazy. They spent so much money on the movie anyways. It's like one of the ones they spent the most money on. And they still
Yeah.
didn't get it accomplished what they should have.
Right.
Plus the MPAA struck again, so a lot of the cool kills were trimmed.
Yeah,
and
they notoriously hit Friday the 13th with every movie.
yeah.
They were looking
I-
for him. They were waiting for him.
I love this movie. I thought it had some really good kills. The head punch is iconic.
Yep. That is definitely
Um,
high up on the list. for me.
Drowning the teacher in the acid in the streets.
I love that scene.
He deserved every
Yes, he
fucking
deserved
moment
it.
of that. That
He
fucking
deserved it.
bastard. I wanted to kill that motherfucker from
What
the
always
beginning.
makes me cringe is when he kills the boxer with the hot stone and
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
it just seems painful to me.
When the guy climbs up on the antenna tower. Where was he going?
Yeah, me and Mark were talking about that last night. It's
It
like,
goes to
where
the
the fuck is
top.
he thinking he's gonna go?
Where are you going from there? Are you thinking Jason's a bear?
Oh my god.
What's funny is that actor would star in Puppet Master 4 and 5.
Oh wow.
That's him, yeah.
I didn't
Never
realize
get
that.
over his climbing problem.
Gordon Curry.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
This movie
Decent role in
also
those movies too. Much better than his role in Friday.
Yeah.
A lot of his stuff got cut. If you watch the deleted scenes, he had more stuff when he was with what's the lead kid's name? Sean, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Sean. Yeah, okay, I was making sure I wasn't going crazy. Like there was more stuff on the bridge with his dad, and he was in there. And I mean, a lot of stuff got cut.
Obviously.
yeah. Yeah, and they did the camera tricks to make the boat look bigger.
Yep. When in
Yeah.
the beginning you can tell how small that fucking boat is.
Yeah.
Or like you have like this huge group of extras at the beginning. As the movie goes on, it's like the boat's deserted now.
Yep.
Yeah, where'd all the kids go?
It's like, oh, Jason just killed everyone. I guess we didn't see that.
He did just his kill count for everyone on that boat.
We have to pause the Blu-ray
just as
now.
kill
and
count
everybody.
for Jason X for all the people on the space station that blew up.
Yep.
Take that, Michael Myers.
But this movie also planted the seed for Freddy vs. Jason being taken away from Kane Hodder.
Yep.
Oh yeah, Ken Kersinger.
Because
Double
Ken Kersinger, because somebody
That is one of the worst
had the
parts.
bright idea that Kane was not capable of doing the car scene because they didn't want to get Kane to get hurt, even though Kane's one of the most accomplished stuntmen in
Exactly.
movie history.
That
There's
never
that
made
one
it
scene where he's
sense to
coming
me.
off the subway, man. Where he's coming off that subway car. It's so obvious it's not Kane playing the role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he did the scene where he
terrible.
fell in part 7, where he fell backwards and crashed through the stairs.
Yep. And that was all his
He had the
idea.
roof fall on top of him in part 7 too.
Yeah,
That was all him too.
that car stunt was easy cakewalk for Kane.
That shit never made sense to me. It never did.
Nope. And because
No.
of that, you know what happened. You know, history made
Yep.
itself.
Well, it's the same thing that happened with Halloween Curse of Michael Myers when they went back to reshoot stuff. They got a different person to be Michael, so in some of those shots, Michael's not as bulked up as George
Yeah.
P. Rober is. So he's like, "Whoa, did Michael just lose a couple of pounds in between shots there?" Yeah, because it's a different
Right.
guy. They just. I mean, that whole movie's a cluster.
Some clothes on him. Picking him up. It's not that obvious.
One of
It's
the-
the same thing. So.
One of the things that always bothered me with Jason Takes Manhattan, though, and I mentioned this to Mark last night too when we were watching it, is how Jason throws Julius off the side of the boat, and I swear to God, he's in the fucking water for an
like
hour, 2
45
hours,
minutes,
or whatever the case may be, and then all of a sudden he's still afloat and swims to the fucking boat and gets in there. Like, that motherfucker would have drowned if it was real life. There was nothing
Guys,
down
he
there
just-
for him to grab onto.
He was a boxer and an athlete, and he was.
He was
Julius.
hanging onto that
Nah.
same rope that Jason used to climb up.
He just needed to
Jesus.
cool down, guys. He was a little hot tempered at the moment, so he decided to stay there and cool off. Okay.
He was down there
Yeah.
punching fish.
I
Take
had
that,
a
Jaws.
question. Do y'all believe? What do y'all think of her hallucinations of Jason?
I think she
she's
was
nuts.
psychotic.
Yeah, she was nuts.
I think she was having. Those are hallucinations. She didn't have any kind of like.
All right, saying that, what do you
Connection
think
to
about the
Jason.
end when the toxic waste comes through?
Fucking hate
Did
that.
it just
Thank
kill
you.
Jason, or
That's
did it
just-
return him? Did it return to him to a kid, or was that just what she saw?
I think
just
she
what she
just
saw.
hallucinated
yeah.
to see the kid. I don't think it was there. That just doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Well, no,
I
it
I believe it
didn't.
melted him, like we see in Part 9, when his mask looks like it's melted onto his face at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though I know that wasn't their intent, but
Yeah,
That's
well,
my
honestly,
story, and I'm
even
sticking
though it's
to it.
like
That's what I always
it looks
figured.
like her
'cause that's what it was like.
hallucination. It almost made it feel like they were ending everything at that point.
Yep.
well,
I
Rob
don't feel that
Heaton,
way
the
now. Like
director,
over time, we've had more movies and it has more of that feel. But at the time when it first came out, it kind of felt like that was their way of killing him and
Right.
ending him. He's now a boy. He's
Well-
returned to what he was when he died, and it's over.
well, Rob
course
Heaton,
they
that was
are.
his original plan. He mentioned, I believe it was in the commentary, he said that his whole idea was that Jason was taken out of Camp Crystal Lake, hence he doesn't have like. He mentioned something about like the curse of Camp Crystal Lake or something like that, and since he was out of that environment, and that was supposed to be like his final death. Yeah, which of course we know is. I mean, nothing was ever mentioned about a curse of Camp Crystal Lake other than the folks who just because of all the
I
stuff
have
that
a bigger
Pamela did.
question: is how the hell did Jason get back to Crystal Lake after all that shit?
Great.
He hitchhiked.
Maybe the sewer currents drifted him off.
Maybe.
Well, he swam and followed them to the New York harbor, so I think he just swam.
Yeah.
back
He's like, fuck this place. I'm going back to Crystal Lake, New York.
He didn't swim. He walked on the bottom of the ocean. all the
Hey,
way
Jason.
Jeez.
Jason's a country boy. He's not a big city boy. Okay?
there.
Right.
Can't get any peace and quiet out here.
One thing we do know because of this movie, Jason does not like hip hop.
No.
That's
He
the
does
best
not.
scene. You dead meat slimer. Just lifts his mask up.
Yo, it's cool. It's cool, man.
Southern bro.
It's cool, man.
Oh my god. My other little nitpicky thing, and the things with this movie that I don't like are just really kind of nitpicky things. I mean, overall, I think the movie's good. It's obviously not great, but it's good. But my other little nitpicky thing is how they changed the Kiki Ma to Jason. I mean, why in the fuck would you do that?
Yeah, they're in the Paramount logo.
That's so
Yeah,
stupid.
Because I guess my thought, I guess, is that it's just because by that point they were all just called Jason films anyway, so they just figured just change it. I bet you that's probably what it is.
Probably. But I mean,
They were trying to be hip.
yeah,
Yeah.
something.
I think that might have been
I
the
remember-
first Jason that didn't have Henry Manfrini completely involved. Like, it was
actually,
a guy that had worked with him.
It was.
I think it's part 7 that started.
Part 7 is
that.
where that started. I mean, they still use some. They still use some of his stuff from like previous movies. I think is what it was. But yeah, overall,
Which is why he gets
7
credited.
Yeah, but 7 was
I
the
swear
first
8
one.
was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just saying, because I swear 8 was the first one where he wasn't put in the credit.
Yeah,
You know, the first time I rented part 8 on VHS 2 billion years ago. I remember when the movie started, The Darkest Side of the Night started playing, and my dad and I, we would watch, because he likes to watch Friday the 13th also, We both looked at each other, and I thought, what they like give us the wrong tape? This doesn't sound like Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah, that was
And then it comes
That's
to shows Times
strange
Square. It
choice.
says Friday the 13th Part 8. I was like, okay, different way to start a Friday movie, but I like that song though. But it's just the looks like Dad and I gave each other. Like, what are we watching?
Right. That's good. That's good stuff.
and a special tribute to Mr. No Pants. We cannot forget him and his iconic subway scene.
Yes. Oh my god.
I'm trying to find the timestamp now because I forgot it.
Isn't that when they're exiting the subway when they're coming into Times
Yes.
Square? That guy in the hat and the black jacket that's long.
Yes, and the black guy walks by and looks at him like, "What is wrong with you, brother?" I swear that guy's not an extra, man. That's a real deal walking around.
I wouldn't doubt it. I would not doubt it.
There, hold on. I think I found him. Yeah. 1:25, 26 seconds, Mr. No Pants.
Oh my
He's
god.
locked up somewhere now
Right.
for messing with the Weinsteins.
Oh my god.
You want to be a star, don't you?
He thought he made it.
You know, the one thing I noticed last night with watching this is that this is kind of one of the longer Friday the 13th too. It was like an hour and 40 minutes,
Yeah, nearly 2
Yeah.
hours.
which it doesn't feel like it's that long. Honestly.
No, it has a decent pace, man. Once they get to New York, it just flies by at that point.
Yeah.
I feel like.
And honestly, they're
Yeah.
in New York for the last 40 minutes of the movie. And yeah, it still
so
feels
it's
like
more of it
flies
than you
by.
even realize.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like it's 15 minutes and no, it's done. It's like, what the
People
hell?
like to nitpick and say only the Times Square is New York, the rest is Canada. Yeah, but for the movie, they are in New York.
Yeah, we don't know that. It's not like.
Yeah,
that's
that's just how movies work. Movies
Yeah.
are shot on a set.
Yep.
Yeah, like get over it. They were in New York for the last 40 minutes of the movie, so just deal with it.
You know
Or
how damn
don't
hard
watch
it is to shoot in Times Square.
Yeah, especially in 1989.
Exactly.
I imagine just getting the legalities straight.
Yeah.
Are a pain in the ass.
All the permits, yeah.
Yep.
'Cause
Imagine
you have to have
how
cops
awesome would
there.
be to be walking around Times Square and then see Kane Hodder in full Jason outfit.
Oh
shooting
man,
a
I'd flip
movie.
out.
That'd be awesome. I was
Be
just
like,
talking about
yes,
that
this is
with my
awesome.
wife. I was reading about the Tom McLaughlin. I was like, can you imagine? I was like, I'd love to be able to work my way onto that set just to. I feel like a little kid, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the set of a Jason movie. That'd be awesome.
Hashtag get Sean on the Jason
I'm working for free.
Wait, let's not get crazy now, Sean.
I'll pay you to be on set.
This will be a part of it.
Well, I'll say for part 8, my favorite kill, of course, is Julius's death.
Oh
Just
yeah,
fantastic.
head punch.
Just head punched up. Love that. Love that death.
He was taking it to
Julian
Jason.
goes out. Julian takes it like a man. He's like, take your best shot. Bam!
Mine would have to be the flying V guitar to the face.
Yes.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good one too.
JJ.
Yeah, Julius is my favorite, but I still, like I said, I cringe at the hot stone in the guy's stomach.
Yeah.
Yeah, that hurts. I bet you Julius didn't feel anything.
Yeah. Definitely my favorite though. Because originally mine I was thinking is Julius's, but the more I think about it, Rennie's uncle being fucking killed because that motherfucker
Yeah.
deserved every second of that for all the shit that he's done to her.
Not only
and
that, but
in
him
the
just
movie.
crying to Jason. Please, no, I'm begging you.
Fucking scumbag.
Jason's
so,
like-
so who was hurt? Who was worse, him or Dr. Cruz from Part 7?
Oh, it's such a toss up. It is such a toss up.
Dr. Cruz. Dr. Cruz is such a
He
freaking
tried to
badass.
use Tina's mom as a human shield.
Yes.
That's true. That is true. Good
for it.
Yeah.
Bad news.
I was
for
wondering who was worse. Who was worse, the drug dealers in the alley or the rich bitch who pushes her off the boat?
Mm,
Well,
Oh.
the drug dealers, because they're about to rape her.
that's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the rich bitch was trying to kill her.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a fine line, though.
That
We
is
won't
a
get
fine
into
line.
that discussion.
Well, who's to say they weren't going to kill her after they raped her?
True.
True. Very true. Very true. But
And don't forget, they forced heroin into her system also.
yeah, that's true.
That's everyday New York living, Ted.
Yeah.
Well,
Welcome
Sean,
to
I have a
Reese.
question. since you're from New York, Sean, I have a question. Is it true that toxic waste gets flushed through the sewers every night?
Only on Tuesdays.
Welcome to New York, where we don't wear pants and we stick each other randomly with needles.
It's well maintained as their sewers. Actually, they're probably some of the cleanest, best sewers there are. Like, they have their own division and unit of people who go down there and work on like the brickwork and everything.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Like, it's a serious thing. Yeah.
Wow. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I mean, I didn't even realize at first that it's been 30 years, you know, because, I mean,
Yeah, me either, man. Every time they do that, I feel old.
yeah,
But I still love it because I got to experience it. So.
exactly. So, you know, we'd love to know what you guys think too. You can definitely reach us through our Facebook page, facebook.com/CLS podcast. We have our website where our podcasts are posted. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, so on and so forth. Check us out. We do want to thank you for joining us tonight for the podcast for our second episode. Please bear with us as we, you know, are still figuring out everything, especially audio-wise, because we're in 4 different states. You know, so it's interesting trying to put this together, but we appreciate you guys checking us out. We should have another episode out hopefully next week as well. And we hope that you guys are enjoying what we're putting together, and we can't wait to see what comes next.
And as always,
See you next week.
That's going to become a thing, isn't it?
Yes, and I love it.
I've decided it is a thing.
Thanks for joining us today for the CLS podcast. Check us out at www.clspodcast.com or join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag CLS Podcast. Until next time, stay safe, campers.